Everybody, my man. Awesome. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, we're joined by Yes Network on-air personality Chris Shearn. Chris previously has experience in sports production for MMNBC. He graduated from Rowan in 1995 with a bachelor's degree in communication and media studies. So, Chris, again, thank you so much for being here. Can you just kick things off by just running us through your career path from college to now?
Sure. It's a joke I tell a lot of people. I mean, I had to fly all the way out to Las Vegas to meet somebody from South Hackensack, New Jersey. But at Rowan, we were lucky enough to be 15 students were selected to go work the NATB conference, which is the National Association of Television Producers and Engineers. And we were basically interns. We wore red blazers. We showed people where the bathroom was. We were, lower than pond scum. However, we all got breaks for like an hour or two, and we got to go on the floor and we got to meet people and make some connections. And that was probably, the planets aligning moment for me, because everything in my career led from one job to the next. And I've truly been blessed with my career. I've had to work hard. I've had to make my own luck. But as luck would have it, out in Las Vegas, I met some guys from Major League Baseball Productions. They were based out in South Hackensack, New Jersey. I was very familiar with the area, having been a New Jersey resident my entire life. So that was kind of cool. They said, as soon as you get back, just give us your resume and we'll see what we can do, because they always had jobs for screeners, loggers. And I was making $9.54 an hour watching baseball. But I figured if I was watching this at home, I wouldn't be making any money per hour. So it was a good deal. I did have two jobs. I was working at an A&P bakery in the morning, and then I was working at SNS Sports News Satellite / MLB Productions at night. So I was burning the candle at both ends, but I was young. I was 22, 23. So I was able to do that and fit some stuff in the middle of my day too. That job, after about 6 months, and when my college loans kicked in, I had to be making a little bit more money. And as luck would have it, I coached my younger brother's little league team, and my shortstop's aunt worked for CNBC. They were starting MSNBC, and they needed production assistants. So I gave her my resume, and I started working at MSNBC. They gave me a 2-week trial, excuse me. They liked me. They hired me, and all the glitz and glamour, everyone, $26,000 a year when I got my first job at MSNBC. But I had benefits and I had a stable job, and it was great. It wasn't sports, which is what I wanted to do, but I am so happy I took that job because I learned the business at MSNBC. It wasn't a union shop at the time. We were in Fort Lee. We moved to Secaucus, and I learned how to edit. A lot of the people there were very nice. The writers were great. The associate producers were great. And I grew up, Chris Farley air quotes, in that building, in those buildings, I should say, plural. I went from a production assistant to an associate producer to a tape producer to a sports producer, and I learned everything behind the scenes. I got a shot being on the air in 1997 when our sports anchor went on vacation. And that's when the itch continued to be scratched for me. And that's when I knew in 1997, that's what I wanted to do. That's where my passion was. That's what I watched Sports Center. When I was at Rowan from 92 to 96, they repeated Sports Center from 8 o'clock in the morning through 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I didn't care if it was a repeat. I was watching it, every single one. Because I could have missed something. I was that into everything. So I was kind of molded with the Dan Patricks, the Keith Olbermans, the Carl Ravaches, the Craig Kilborns, Stuart Scott. I mean, these guys, they were knowledgeable, plus they were entertaining. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to bring that to the table because I have a great personality. I have movie references, ridiculous movie references that I could work into my copy. And just off the top of my head, I don't need to write them. I have a PhD in movie lines from the 80s, but I digress. So MSNBC, I'll give you the short version of that. I was working on the Imus in the morning show. It was a radio show from 6 to 10. We were simulcasting it on MSNBC, and they needed a producer. They were doing Imus at night. They were doing like the best of Imus, but they were doing this complete compilation of everything that he had done at the network for the first 3 years. So I worked, we were long nights, and I got really close to their executive producer, and he ended up leaving. And where did he go? The Yes Network. And I had already sent my stuff to Yes, and I never heard anything back. And then Jeff calls me and says, "Hey, we're starting Mike and the Mad Dog, and I need a producer that I could count on." So I said, "Yes, just get me out of here," because I'll give you the brief version of this too. For 6 months, my job was watching them pull bodies and body parts out of 9/11. So I had had enough of news. I was done. So I got out of there. I started at Yes in February of 2002. We launched in March of 2002. We were the second thing on the air. What's It Worth was first at 12 o'clock. That ran an hour. And then Mike and the Mad Dog was the first live program to be on the Yes Network. I believe it was March 17th or 19th of 2002. I can't remember the date exactly. I think it was the 19th. And I've been there ever since. I start my 23rd year in February. I can't believe I'm saying that. I started there when I was 28, and I just turned years of age in August. So it's been a great journey. I started on the air in 2004, and I'll tell you how I did that. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. I'm sure you've heard that in the vernacular in your classes or wherever. Your parents, listen to your parents. They know. They've been through it. So I know you like to rebel sometimes against them. Listen to them. They've been through the trenches. They know what's going on. Listen to your parents and your professors, by the way, and make as many connections as possible. But in 2004, we were having this issue getting on the air. The show before Mike and Chris was Sid Rosenberg and Jody McDonald, and they would always go long, and they would push the Mike and Chris show to like 102, and we would be sitting on a slide of Mike and Chris's faces, like close-ups, and it would just say "coming up" at the bottom for 2 minutes. Now, guys, 5 seconds in TV is an eternity. Imagine what 2 minutes is. So I went to my boss, I pitched it to him. I said, "I don't have to be on camera. I'll just do a VO rip, just some highlights with my voice, and it'll get us clean to when Mike and Chris start." He said, "No, go on camera, put it on tape, send it to me." I did. He approved it, and the rest is history. Here I am. I've done Yankees studio. I've done Yankees clubhouse. I've done Nets pre and post game. I've done Nets sideline. I'm currently the voice of the New York Liberty, who are in the WNBA finals, by the way. So that was fun this year when you have two former MVPs and a new MVP again for the second time this year in Brianna Stewart. That was amazing calling those games. But that's basically my career in about 6 minutes.
Well, yeah, congrats on 23 years at Yes Network. That's
Yeah,
great.
thanks.
Speaking about your role with Yes Network, what does like your
Mhm.
day-to-day look like right now?
Day to day right now, this is like the holding pattern because we're in between. This is kind of weird because the Yankees rarely miss the playoffs. So it's kind of a seamless transition from Yankees playoffs to Nets opening night. We're not going to get that this year. And I think since we launched, we've only had that 5 times. So, or 4 times, something like that. So it's a little weird. I'm doing stuff for the Michael K show. I do that every day, and it's the same basic VO rip. And the microphone that you see before you and the computer that I'm doing this Zoom on, I write everything in the morning. I tape it here at my computer. I email it to the Mike and the Mad Dog, to the Michael K crew, and through the power of technology, they're able to edit the video to what I do because I give them the plays, I write all the copy, and I lay it down and I send it in. So I'm doing that now. October 9th and October 16th, I'm doing Nets play-by-play for the first time in my career. It's 2 preseason games. The first one's against the Lakers on the 9th in Las Vegas. The second one is at Barclays Center on October 16th. And I was just told I'm doing 2 college basketball games on December 10th. So the more, if I could tell everyone on this call right now, repetition. And I told Dan this. We met back in February over LinkedIn, and I told him in our first Zoom meeting back then, repetition, practice. I don't care if it's in front of a mirror. I don't. You guys have these cell phones. I didn't have that when I was starting. So practice as much as you can. You could buy a real cheap, what do you call it? God, I'm spacing right now. You can a tripod. You could buy a tripod for your phone, set it up in front of you. There are teleprompter apps. I would say use that for the if you want to do that, if you want to be like there's that 1 minute guy on Barstool where he just rambles on. He probably does that off the top of his head, but practice with teleprompter first and then challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to do a minute, just a minute, time yourself, do a minute right into the camera and talk about something that they talked about on first take, but give your take. It's all about hot takes now, and that's what's paying a lot of money. So I would say get a lot of practice with that now.
Right now, could you run us through your your prep process for both, broadcast versus, normal pregame, postgame shows and whatnot?
Sure. The pre and post game show for the Yankees or the Nets, we are blessed to have a tremendous research department. See, it's catchy. Research department at the Yes Network. It's led by Jeff Quagliata, and if you had to ask me, he's probably the best in the business, and the people he puts around him are just like him, if not better. And he's not afraid to have better people on his staff because it just makes him better. Every game, Nets or Yankees, and now Liberty, our graphics coordinator for Liberty, Sam Hickey, she sends out a one sheet, and Quag sends out one sheets for the Nets and the Yankees. But it's not one sheet; it's like 12 to 13 sheets of all the updated stats and all the trends. And I'll get to the office 4 hours before my show. I take a legal pad. I go through the one sheet. As soon as it comes out, the research department comes in and gives us newspaper clippings, whether it's Nets or Yankees, of everything pertinent to that night's game, all the articles that were written the night before. So you read in. I usually do that first. Then the one sheet will come out in my email. I will go and print that out and sit at my desk with the legal pad. And you'll see, if you watch me do Nets, you'll see I have a legal pad on the desk. That's my Bible for that night. And I have about a stack that big of just full legal pads from all my prep work. And for the Liberty games, for play-by-play, it's basically sitting at my kitchen table with my computer opened, and I go on deep dives with these women. And I'm doing the same thing right now for the Nets and Lakers as I get ready for Monday's game in Las Vegas. And I write so small so I could fit a lot of things into my little boxes. And that's it. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the times, if the game is really good and really tight, I might get to 5% of the stuff that I painstakingly prepared for. And then all of that doesn't go in the garbage because the next game, it's there again. And I don't just copy and I write 2 new sheets if it's the Liberty, I transcribe everything I didn't use the game before onto a new sheet. And before you know it, it's just here. I have if I had a superpower, that's it. If I write it down, it goes into my head. Just another tip from your Uncle Chris there. But it's really beneficial when you're calling a game in the heat of the moment and you have that stat that you remember that you've written down about 50 times and that player hits the big shot and it's there. You don't have to look down. It's there. And Ian Eagle told me a very important piece of advice about 2 years ago. And he was one of my mentors. Like when I started doing play-by-play, I went to him. And that was a very good decision on my part. And he said, I know how you prepare, but know this, you cannot be looking down when the game is going on, because if you miss it, you miss it. It's not coming back. It's live. So I've taken that under consideration. It's very nuanced too, because you have to know when to actually, I love watching the game action. I don't like watching the monitor. If I wanted to do that, I'll stay back at Yes and I'll watch a monitor and call it from an edit room. So, but there is a nuanced way because officials get in your way sometimes, coaches get in your way sometimes. So you're basically following the game live like a fan is. But when something like that happens, you have to know where your blockages are. And when they hit, you have to go right back down to the monitor. And when you feel comfortable again, when that official is moved, you could look back up and keep following the game. But I usually keep following the play until its conclusion. I don't look back up. Plus, you have your stat monitor next to you. It's taken me a while to get it down. It's not easy. Some people, it's innate. You could do it immediately. It's a craft, and they call it a craft for a reason. And I'm starting to get really good at it, I think. That's not me talking. That's other people telling me. I'm not the braggadocious type. I'm telling you what other people have told me. So that's all I got there. The preparation is intensive when I do play-by-play because I go by John Wooden's quote, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And you should take that with you all as well. And Derek Jeter said this too, someone may be better than you, but they can't outwork you. They can't. You can't be lazy, not in this business, because especially in the New York area, people will find you out and people will call you out. If you're on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Now, in live TV settings, there's times when, talent needs to improvise. So can you
Yeah.
talk about an experience you had where you had to improvise?
1,000%. It just happened this past year. Frank Isola and I, another great guy, who is probably the best at what he does, and you should listen to his radio show 7 to 10 every morning on Sirius XM NBA Radio Channel 86. But we were sitting in the green room watching the Nets game, as we always do. Frank painstakingly logs every basket that happens, so when we go out there, he knows the runs, he knows what happened when. I guess it was middle of the first quarter, and the TV we have back there sometimes goes to black. And we were like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. The TV's out. No, the truck lost power. So our producer comes in and says, we need you guys on set right now. You guys have to keep us going on the air. So Frank Isola and I, without a picture, I had my iPad on the desk watching what is it? NBA Courtside, which is the live box score of the game. So I was calling play-by-play based upon what play clicked down as fast as it was clicking down. And in between the plays, I was holding a podcast with Frank. I was just asking him about the team, about the game so far. And our boss the next day called us and said, you guys were phenomenal last night. You always have to know how to ad-lib. You cannot rely on teleprompter. And I will credit Bob Lorenz for that. I would say about a decade ago, he saw how much I was using teleprompter when I was doing the Nets pre and post games. And he said, do me a favor. You watch the game, don't you? I said, of course. Go up there. It might be rocky for the first couple of shows, but you have to be able to look into that camera and be able to convey that story to the people watching without the teleprompter. And once I did that, once I started, 3 or 4 different iterations of a podcast, and I did it by myself, you could hear it right. I'm looking directly at the camera. I'm talking to you all. I don't need a script. It's just easy. It comes naturally. When I was 5 years old, if there was a camera, now I'm dating myself. These were like silent movies. They were color, but they were silent. If I saw a camera, I walked right up to it with a big grin on my face. So this is what I was meant to do my entire life. And I love it. And I'm sorry, did I go on a tangent? Because I do that too, and I apologize. What was the question? Did I answer it?
Nope, yeah, you were good. Yeah, I just asked about a time where you need to improvise. So that was
Yeah, that
that was
was
perfect.
yeah. It was me and Ice in the studio. That was frightening and exhilarating at the same time.
Okay. Now I know you touched upon it a little bit earlier, but could you talk a little bit more about your previous experience at MSNBC?
Oh,
And I
sure.
know you're in a variety of roles. You're a producer, you had a production
Hmm.
assistant role. So how did that help you become better on air as like an on-air talent?
That is a tremendous question, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people start right out of college on the air. I couldn't go to, Albany or Elmira. And I went up there for an interview and they offered me $15,000 a year. I wouldn't have been able to live, not with my loans and all my bills. I just couldn't do it. It's real talk. So I had to do it this way. And I made my own luck because I busted my rear end, and that's why I am where I am. But learning every position in the control room and beyond made me more understanding, respectful of everything that goes on back there. And mistakes happen. Now, look, do you have to talk to people when they make mistakes? Yes, but you don't have to be maniacal. You don't have to raise your voice. It made me a better on-air personality because, and I remember this clearly. It happened Yankee season. Somebody made a mistake on one of the highlight sheets, and I just brushed it off, didn't care. But the woman who wrote the highlight sheet ran out into the control room and her face was beet red. She was apologizing to me like crazy. And I was just like, hold on, Lauren, take a breath, relax. It happens. I know I, made the mistake on the air, but and it leads me to another good piece of advice. Live TV is just like I talked about with a live game going on. It happens. You got to move on. If you go back and you dwell on that, people are going to be like, what's going on? What's going on with this person? Just move on. We're good. You don't have to apologize for something you did 3 segments ago. So having said that, your question's great, because if you learn everything back there, you're more compassionate to the people who are busting their rear end to make you look good. So yeah, I love the fact that I grew up where I grew up. I didn't want to do news, but it was the best decision I ever made because it made me better in my position now.
To transition, can you talk about strategies you use to build chemistry with fellow on-air talent?
Oh God, yes. Now look, you have to have some kind of common ground with the person. There have been times where it hasn't worked, I'll be honest, and you try to pull stuff out of somebody. But when you work like with people like Richard Jefferson, it's like riding a bicycle. It's so easy because Richard, one post game show, Richard made paper airplanes and threw them at my head the entire post game, and I just went through it, and no one told him to stop. And even if they did, he wouldn't. But he was great. I worked with Mike Fratello. He was phenomenal. I worked with Jim Spinarco, another one, phenomenal, great human being. And not only were they great human beings, they were great at what they did, and I was able to learn from them. But I have to be honest, I don't want to play a favorite, but Isola, we just have, I don't know. You either have it with somebody or you don't. I had it with Jimmy Spinarco, but I'm closer in age with Frank, and that's the key. Like I did shows with Donnie Marshall too. It was only for a year, unfortunately. But he was my age. So all the references I threw at him, he would expound off it and we would just have fun. I mean, the Nets stunk, but we had fun. And that's what you want. You want to entertain people. If your team just took it on the chin and lost by 30, what the hell do they want a somber studio for? Especially if it's like game 10. You got to have some fun with your analyst. And Frank and I are able to do that because he knows the entire league. If I'm going to break, I know if the producer's counting me down in my ear and he's saying 10, 9, and I tee Frank up with something funny before we go to break, he'll give it right back to me. And the last thing you'll hear before we go to commercial is cackling laughter. And that's not contrived. That's not fake. That's real. We like each other and we love making each other laugh. It's the best. And when you have somebody like that, it's not work. It really isn't. Yes, there is work that goes into it, but it's hanging out with my friend and it's talking about sports. And once you get that, once you just kind of forget about the camera and focus in on your analyst, the biggest thing that Jack Curry ever taught me: listen. When you're interviewing somebody, listen. It's nice to have questions lined up. It is. It's nice to have a plan. It's nice to have a roadmap to what you want to get out of the person you're interviewing. However, you might ask that first question, and that first answer be like, whoa, I gotta follow up there. If you're, and I used to do this, I'll admit it, I wasn't listening. I'd be looking down at my second question, nervous. Listen to the person you're interviewing. Listen to your analyst. Your producer will tell you when you have to go. Listen first. And my producers will ask me, you got to follow up, and they won't be on my camera. So I'll either wave them off or I'll go one more. Stuff you don't see, but that's how we communicate with each other. It's sign language. But I've worked with a lot of great analysts, and doing New York Liberty play-by-play. I do it with Jules Vianney Brain. She used to play for Marist. She was damn good when she played there. She was damn good in high school. She comes from a basketball family. Her father coaches, and we have a good relationship. She is a lot younger than me. I want to say maybe 15, 14 years younger than me. So a lot, like I referenced De La Soul. She didn't know who that was, but she knew who the Wiggles were. So you just got to be careful. And I know Ian Eagle does that a lot with Sarah Kustok, and our producer has to get in Sarah's ear and tell her, hey, that was funny. You should laugh. But Sarah like doesn't know anything about Ian's pop culture references. It's kind of funny. Like Frank and I always laugh when we're watching the games and it happens. But if you're in that wheelhouse with your analyst, you are golden. You are absolutely 1,000% golden. And I am with Frank.
Well, throughout your career, growing up, I know you said you're a massive sports fan. You watch Sports Center all the
Yep.
time, like, all day, every
Yep.
day. Who was a broadcaster that like you looked up to?
It's not just one. Um, oh God, I'm going to date myself again. Before we had these, uh, before we had the interwebs, we had channels 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11. That was it. And you had to get up to change the damn channel. So back then, it was the local sports guys. CBS had Warner Wolf. NBC had Len Berman. Channel 5, God, can't remember who 5 was. 7 was Scotty Clark. 9 was Russ Salzberg. And 11 was Sal Marciano. I just can't remember who was on Channel 5. But I would say all of those gentlemen were pretty much part of the inspiration before ESPN really got mainstream, and I kind of latched into those guys. Because as my personality developed, my love of sports got bigger, and then those two things kind of meld together, and then you're a raving lunatic about sports. But it works for people like Stephen A. Smith, who's getting paid millions and millions of dollars to just sit there and scream at people on the set of First Take. Hey, but it works for him. So it is what it is. But yeah, there were a lot. There were a lot. And Bruce Beck, too, who is still on Channel 4, by the way. And he was Len Berman's backup back then. And you won't find a better human being or someone better than what he does on television. He is like they broke the mold. I'll say that when they made Bruce Beck in a human sense and in a professional sense as well.
I want to go back to your time at college. So, how did
Mm-hmm.
your time at Rowan help prepare you for a career in sports?
Um, Everything that was available to me, I did. I had multiple shows at the radio station. I was a member of the Radio Television Association. My senior year, I was the president. I was the vice president. Then I became the president. I got a $30,000 grant from the SGA because we had a TV station, Channel 5, and all it was doing was happy birthdays, like just stills of names, happy birthday, and the lunch menu in the cafeteria. And I went to my professors and I was like, we got to do better. We have a television department. That TV channel should be us. We should be producing things for that. They said, go to the student government. So I did. And I never got to use the equipment. I never got to benefit from Channel 5. But I like to think of that as my legacy, along with the people who are with me, the vice president, the secretary, the treasurer, my best friend, Max Negan, who is now a professor of TV down at Elon College in North Carolina. And he's great at what he does. So just doing as many things as I possibly can. I did play-by-play for basketball. I did color for basketball. I did play-by-play and color for baseball. I never did football. But we had a sports show on the radio. We did a heavy metal overnight show. I did the morning show. It was insanity, but it was the best 3.5 years of my life down at Rowan. I started at a community college and then I transferred, but Rowan got me ready. And here's the other thing. I had a really, really good professor for television 1 and television 2. Bud Mellon was television 1 and Ned Eckert was television 2. And they were so opposite. Like Bud was so laid back and basically just, if you show up and you do the work, you're not going to have a problem. Ned ran it like a TV station. So you had, and that was like year after year, but it was kind of the business in a nutshell. There are days where you could, hang out in the cubicle area and talk sports with the guys. And there are other days where you have to get your nose to the grindstone and start doing your thing. So that was great. But the one class that I still have my Bible, I just took my syllabus out the other day, broadcast journalism. Ed Kasuba was the guy's name. He worked at KYW News Radio in Philadelphia, and I interned with him after the semester. And he actually let me loose on a murder trial in Camden. I had to sit in the courtroom with my little tape recorder with a little microphone. And he let me write and do a piece that he later voiced, and it aired on KYW. And that, to me, that's like a drug. I'll be honest with you. Like that's my high. That's all I need. Like I heard what I wrote on the radio, and that just like put me on cloud 9. So it was all of that combined. And the general manager of the radio station, Frank Hogan, he ran the radio station like a real radio station. If you messed up, you were going to hear about it. And he took you to task. And if he had to suspend you, he suspended you. He brought you back, and it was a life lesson. But these are all things that got me ready. They didn't baby me there. They did the right thing by me. And I am where I am because of all of the fantastic people at my university.
Hey Chris, how you doing? I just wanted to hop in for a couple questions.
Yeah, sure.
First, a lot of people struggle with making efficient use of their time. Do you have any strategies that you would like and advice to efficiently manage your time?
Take your phone and throw it in the garbage. That's the first thing. You know what? No, but seriously, take phone breaks. It helps. Concentrate on something else. If you're into long form writing or if you're into broadcast writing, instead of looking at your phone and scrolling through X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, for hours and hours, and TikTok for hours and hours, and Instagram for hours and hours, challenge yourself. Write a long form sports story that you would want Sports Illustrated to put up on their website, or the USA Today, or any publication. Write a commentary that you would want to be on First Take. Get your brains working. I tell my daughters all the time, because sometimes I'll call them, what? Zombies. These things are zombie makers. You gotta take breaks from the phone. It's also horrendous for your mental health. Believe me when I tell you this, and I won't be long-winded on this, I promise. But in 2019, right before COVID hit, my dad passed. And that was rough because we were tight. I'll just leave it there. He passed, COVID hit, and Yes got shut down. And this was the cause of a lot of issues I started to have up here, coupled with, all the loss. Then I lost my cousin like 2 months after my father. He was 58. He was diagnosed with cancer, and then less than a month later, he was gone. Take phone breaks. Spend time with your siblings. Spend time with your parents. Call your parents. Call your grandparents. Believe me, I would love to have one of my grandparents around. Spend time with family. Seriously, it helps. I know this has nothing to do with school, but if you're sitting there, instead of going through Instagram and you haven't talked to your mom or your dad or your brother, your sister, uncle, aunt, whatever, grandmother, grandfather, call them. It's good for you. Seriously. I mean, that's the best advice I can give you. If you're having a crappy day, put this damn thing away and either challenge yourself or talk to someone you love. Or reach out to me.
Thanks. That was actually really good advice. Just going back to your job specifically, can you run us through what goes on in production meetings prior to shooting?
We used to have those, and then COVID happened. So we really don't have formal production meetings, but I'll give you the pre-COVID stuff. We have a pretty big conference room. So the producer would sit at the head of the table, and the entire crew just filled in all around. And he would go through all of his notes. He has like any kind of college bound notebook that any one of you had, and his notes are extensive. And he went through that. Then he would go through the rundown. He would ask the analyst, whoever it was that night, does this sound okay to you? Would you rather talk about something else? That's the biggest thing. The analyst drives the show. So, and I try to tell this one producer, we have that all the time. He doesn't listen to me. Please talk to Frank so I don't have to hear his mouth. But yeah, it's not just my way or the highway with the producer. It is a group effort. It's something I like about Yes a lot, because you feel like if you fall, there's a net, and you have a lot of people that care about what they do. No one half-asses it. Everybody's in, because everybody knows if there's a big major screw up, we're all going to hear it. So we're all locked in tight, and we all love what we do. And those production meetings, although they're not around anymore, the producer will now just go in the control room and talk to everybody. And then before the show, he'll come into the green room and he'll sit with me and Frank. You guys good? Yep. Frank, you want to change anything? No, we're good. That's pretty much it. And then we just let it rip. And that's why I'm there 3-4 hours before the show starts, because I want to make sure that I could set Frank up with the rundown, because the rundown's in when I walk in. The one sheet isn't out yet. The clips aren't printed out yet, but the rundown's in. So I could start making mental notes and taking notes on my pad saying, all right, I have to get some info here. I have to get some info here. Then I run that by Frank. And if he doesn't like the way I'm going to lead him, he'll say, no, just do this. Just lead me like that. Okay. And that's what I do. So that's basically it. We went from the conference room to just like little ones here and there, but it still works the same.
What's like the biggest challenge you faced in your career?
It's, you know what? It's day to day. It really is. I can remember the first time I got a phone call, and it was Kim Jones. Something happened where she had to leave Yankee Stadium. It was the old Yankee Stadium in 2008. The game had already started, and they needed someone to go there and get post-game sound. I had never done that in my life. But whatever scares you, you get thrown in the pool, you either sink or you swim. So I went, and the best thing happened. In 2005, I'll tell you a quick story. We did Staten Island Yankee games, and I got to sit in the dugout. I was the clubhouse or dugout reporter. Bob Lorenz did play-by-play. I forget who his analyst was. I think it was Homer Bush, if I'm not mistaken. And Brett Gardner sat next to me the entire game when he wasn't in the field. And I played baseball up until 2 years ago, when I had my last shoulder surgery and decided that's it, I'm done. But I'm a student of the game. I've always been a student of baseball. And I watched Brett. And he came back in towards the end of the game. He was spraying the ball into the gaps. He hit a triple. He had a couple of steals, and he sat next to me, and I said, "You keep this up, I'll see you in the Bronx soon." Fast forward to 2008, that was his first game. They had just called him up, and I saw him by his locker, and I just pointed at him. I said, "Told you." And he nodded and he laughed. And we had a relationship. I mean, look, I wasn't hanging out with the guy, but he appreciated that. And that kind of made me calm down. To tell you I wasn't nervous, I'd be lying to your face. I was 100% nervous. That was the old Yankee clubhouse. Thurman Munson's locker, the space where it was is still there. So I was like beside myself. That's where Lou Gehrig was. That's where Babe Ruth was. I'm just sitting in there like, oh my God, what the hell is going on right now? I'm like a kid in a candy shop. But Brett kind of calmed me down. I got through it. And that's what they've done my entire career. When I'm the yes guy, that's what they call me, because whenever they call me, I say yes. I don't turn anything down. I don't think I can, because everything I do, it's like I said at the beginning, repetition. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. The more you work with an analyst, the better you're going to have a rapport with that analyst. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. And again, I'll say it again. I've been blessed with all the opportunities that I've been given. And I'm really looking forward to October 9th when the Nets take on the Lakers. And I'm doing play-by-play of an NBA game, because that is going to be the pinnacle of my 22 plus years.
And then last question for me. Do you have a favorite moment of your career?
There's a couple, but I'll give you the best. 2009, I was covering the parade, and the last car float was taking the players away. And I looked at my producer and I said, "We have to get to City Hall. How the hell are we going to get there? We can't take the subway. Look, we'll never make it there in time." And he said a bad word. He said, "F it." And we walked the Canyon of Heroes behind all the floats. And at certain points during that trip, people started chanting my name. And that was like an out of body experience. Because I never took it seriously. I never thought a lot of people watched what I did. But then when it kind of happens, it's kind of surreal. I always wanted to play for the Yankees. This is the next best thing, I guess. But yeah, that has to be tops. But the Nets on the 9th and 16th will be right up there with that.
So usually what we do at the end of the meetings is try and go around to every person and they
Sure.
introduce themselves and ask any questions. I'll just introduce myself quick since I already asked all my questions.
Sure.
I'm Brandon. I'm a junior here. I'm the vice president of the club. I'm a statistics major, modern and sports communication.
Brandon, great to meet you. Great questions. Thank you.
Thanks, you too. So Jalissa, you want to start?
Yeah, hi guys. Thank you so much for coming on, by the way.
No worries.
I am the social media coordinator for the club,
Mhm.
and I'm a senior here at Monmouth.
Right.
I'm a business marketing major, and I want to go into sports marketing. Yeah, so right now I'm interning with the Giants, just doing like a game day
Oof.
internship.
Yeah, I was there last night. It was not pretty.
Oh, were you? So was I. Yeah, it was hard to be there. Yeah. But thank you again for popping on. Really
No worries. My pleasure. Anytime you guys need me, I'll give Dan my email. And if any of you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if any of you want to reach out to me, if there's something that you thought of, tonight, tomorrow, in a month, all you got to do is reach out and I'll get back to you.
Matt, you want to go?
Oh, hey, so I'm Matthew. I'm a secondary education history major. Just wanted to ask you, like, what were your major setbacks in your career as a broadcaster that helped elevate you to where you are now?
There is a saying about failure and how if you don't fail, you can never succeed. And I failed a lot. And it's knowing that feeling. I'll relate it to you this way, because I think she kind of exemplifies what I'm about to say. Benai Delaney plays for the New York Liberty. She came out of college. She had a bad knee injury. She was drafted by the Chicago Sky in 2015. They cut her. She didn't get back into the league until 2017. She got cut again. Then she caught on with, I think it was the Atlanta Dream. She played a season for them. They let her go. Or no, it was the Indiana Fever first, then the Atlanta Dream. She played with Atlanta in the bubble and won the most improved player. And we just had a feature with her where she said, and she broke down, and I felt it. It really resonated with me, because you never know when it's going to be taken away from you, and you never know how hard you have to work to get it back. And there have been times in my career, look, I've always been gainfully employed. I went from MLB productions to MSNBC to Yes. I've worked at 3 places my entire career. So I have been blessed to have that job security, knock on wood. But along the way, it's been a roller coaster. You know, I thought at times that I was going to get opportunities, and somebody from the outside came in and got the opportunity. I'll give you a really quick example. At MSNBC, they had me train a new associate producer, and I was still a production assistant. So I was one rung below the guy I was training. And it turns out I was better than him. And I actually didn't even get a shot to apply for the job. So I felt slighted because I was there for like 3-4 years. They ended up letting him go and giving me the job anyway, because he stunk. But those are kind of the yin and yang, the in and out, the up and down, the roller coaster. You can't let it get you down. If you let it get you down, you will stay down. You gotta, sometimes I look in the mirror. I know it's weird. I look in the mirror and I give myself a pep talk. I'll go to the gym and I'll just lift heavy stuff and get it out that way. There are so many things you can do to get by it. And my dad always used to say to me, and I still live by this, God rest him. He said, don't let the bastards get you down. And I don't. I just don't. Because if you let people get inside of your head, they win. You can't let them win. You have to survive. You have to conquer. You have to be strong. You have to be thick-skinned. I know you're not, you said you're an education major. I think you have to be thick-skinned in everything, in every walk of life, especially in broadcast. But you have to be tough. You have to be strong. And if you are, and you don't let people get inside your head, there's no stopping you.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
Adam, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey Chris, I'm Adam. I'm a junior here at Monmouth University.
Oh,
Communication.
the palestra. Let's go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have sports Tourette's. I apologize.
Basketball fans. It's all good. So I'm a junior here at Monmouth. I'm a comm major, minor in sports comm. I kind of want to ask you, what's the thing about this kind of broadcasting or sports talk that you enjoy the most?
What do I enjoy the most as far as broadcasting goes?
Yeah.
I would love to do a Yankee game play-by-play. I haven't done that yet. I would love to. Maybe it's in my future. Maybe it isn't. I'm not chasing anything anymore. But I have to say, when it comes to the things I do at Yes, I really enjoy working with Jack Curry on the Yankees when I get to do those pre and post game shows. I really, really enjoy working with Isola on the Nets pre and post game shows. But my favorite thing to do is New York Liberty basketball. It really is, because the team has accepted me as like a family member. I feel welcomed every time I walk into that arena. They have a nickname for it. It's just it's so comfortable. It's so relaxing, and the team is so good. I called the games when they were 2-20 in the bubble. So this year was a godsend in more ways than one. And when you have Sabrina Ionescu coming up and just chopping it up, and Brianna Stewart coming over saying hi, and the coach knows who you are and the GM knows who you are, it's really cool. And they, not only do I appreciate them, they appreciate me, which means a lot. So that would be my favorite.
Nolan, you want to go?
Hi, I'm Nolan. I'm a junior here at Monmouth.
What's up, Nolan?
Well, um, I'm a communications major with like a focus in like media and production and
Mhm.
sports communications. And I really have no idea what I want to do in the
Okay.
future. It's just I
What
want to
year
do.
are you in? What year are you in?
I'm a junior, so
Okay.
time
You
for
have
me.
time. You have time. And plus you're in a major. I'm sorry I cut you off. I'll let you get to the question, but you're in a major where there's a lot of things you could do. So go ahead. What do you want to ask?
I don't remember if you were asked this or not already, but like, I was like wondering like if you have like any like regrets throughout like your whole like career.
Hmm. That's a really good question. I mean, I don't think so because everything I've been asked to do, I've done it. And every opportunity that I've been charged with, I mean, I had to do, never played hockey in my life. I had to do a high school hockey game on by the benches. I had no idea what I was doing, and I did it because it's a learning experience. I don't regret it. I mean, I may have looked like an idiot, but when it comes down to brass tacks, they're not tossing down to me to do, the ins and outs of the game. They're just asking me to get in between period interviews, so I was fine. All right, I'll give you one. It just hit me, so I'll give it to you. Now, I like to inject my personality into a lot of things. And sometimes it's okay. And this particular occasion was not. And I didn't know my mic was hot, which is very important for everyone to know. Like when you're holding a mic or when a mic is attached to your lapel and you're getting ready to go on the air, you always have to assume that that thing is on. So I was filling in for Meredith Marakovitz at Yankee Stadium. Clint Frazier just absolutely hit a missile off of Knable, the Brewers closer, to win the game for the Yankees. They had been trailing the whole game, and he won the game with a walk-off home run. Now, a lot had been made of his hair because it was long. He cut it. And then when I went over and I was waiting for him, he was like running his fingers through his hair. And me trying to be Mr. Personality. Hey, is the hair all right? And my mic was on. So the whole stadium heard me say that. And then they destroyed me all over Twitter. And then my boss called me. So if I have one regret, it's trying to be that guy in that moment when I should have just captured the moment that just happened. So I'll fall on that sword because I was wrong. And it was a lesson for me that I learned the hard way on the biggest stage that you could be on. So yeah, that would be my one regret, not embracing the moment and instead trying to put my own stamp on it. And since then, I've learned it's not about me. It's about the team that I cover. I hope that helps with an answer.
All right. Benicio, you want to go?
Hello, I'm Benicio.
What's
I'm,
up?
I'm a comm major here at Monmouth. And my question for you would be, what exactly is your plan going into your first play-by-play for the Brooklyn Nets?
Oof. Don't screw up. That would be the short answer. The long answer is just be as prepared as I could be. There's 18 guys on the roster. And I am currently halfway through those 18 guys with all my prep. I'll finish the Nets tomorrow and start the Lakers. And it'll probably take me a couple days to do the Lakers. And then after I get everything on paper, I believe the Lakers play on Saturday. So I'm going to try to find that game no matter how hard it is to find. I think they play the Warriors before they play the Nets. So I'll watch that game and familiarize myself with the guys that they're playing because that's probably who's going to play against the Nets in Las Vegas. And I'll put my head down. I'll make sure I know all the numbers, all the names. I mean, I know the guys that they had on the team last year, obviously, but free agency, there's a lot of guys that are not going to make the squad. They have 15, and two two-way deals. So you have two guys that are on the G League team of every NBA team. So you have 15 guys dressed pretty much every night in the NBA. And I'm learning 18 to 20 per team. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I don't know who they're going to play. So I have to make sure I know everybody. And that's, close to 40 guys by Monday. So I'm trying to get all this stuff into the dome piece by then. And if I could do that, I'm not worried about the ins and outs of calling the game. I'm just making sure my prep work is done.
All right, Dan.
Hi, Chris. Of course, we've talked.
Yo, what up?
I apologize about the Zoom link. I sent
It
the wrong
happens.
one.
Stop beating yourself up about it. What I tell you, don't apologize for something that happened 3 segments ago.
But my question would be, I'm gonna go sports question because I picked your mind before. What do you think of this whole thing about the Yankees audit? maybe you don't want to answer that one. I could ask something else. But
No, I mean, this is the first time it's happened. I don't know. I think I just read today on Twitter that they're bringing an analytic audit company in to see.
What I heard is that they're looking at a company and how they do things, and they're going to evaluate themselves by that way. They're not getting an actual audit.
No, it's an actual, I think it's a literal analytic company, if I'm not mistaken. And they're going to see how they run analytics as opposed to how the Yankees run analytics. So they're trying to dive into what's not working in their analytics department. And I think that's a good thing. We just saw that Aaron Boone is already coming back, and you're probably going to have Brian Cashman back as the general manager. You'll get don't put your head down, Dan. You'll get the press conference, I'm sure, will happen within the next week, maybe the end of this week or the beginning of next week, where Aaron and Cash will come out and they'll address the fans. You'll probably hear from Hal Steinbrenner as well. But as far as the audit goes, I mean, this is new to me like it is to you. I don't know how much involvement there is in the audit, what the audit is specifically for. So in order to comment on that, I really can't, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to be the end game. So I know you want me to give you an answer, but I have no clue what's going to happen. This is new to me. This is very new. I grew up with George Steinbrenner. I just knew, like, he was hands-on and he was in there, and if stuff wasn't working, people were going to be held accountable. And maybe after this audit happens, that will happen as well, but that remains to be seen.
And then I have another quick question. Do you use any templates for your game prep, or is it all handwritten?
It's handwritten, but Ian gave me his template. It's a regular sheet of paper. It's like this. It's as big as this. You can't see it because I have the green screen up, but it's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And I have it broken into quadrants. The WNBA has 12 players. So I have 12 quadrants because that's what I mainly do. For the Nets, I'm going to have 2 sheets or make a new sheet. But I'm not going to worry about that until the season starts and they actually ask me to do a regular season game. But for now, I'll have 4 sheets in front of me when I have the Lakers and Nets on Monday. And like I said, I write very small. I get as much information into those blocks as I can. But sometimes I don't even get to it because I'm having a conversation with my analyst and the game is going on. And our producer already told me, Frank DeGrace, he said, we're going to have a bunch of sound bites that are going to lead you and Frank in certain directions. So you'll have plenty of stuff to talk about. And, we had the Damian Lillard trade. We had the Drew Holiday going to the Celtics. Then we had, what am I forgetting? There was something else too, and I forgot. But we have all this stuff to talk about. Oh, James Harden, for crying out loud. And they play the Sixers on the 16th. So I'm sure we'll talk ad nauseum about Harden not reporting and wanting a trade out of another team for the 3rd time in 4 years.
All right. Thank you so much again for doing this.
Yeah, no problem, Dan. Anytime.
All right, Ryan, you want to go?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, what's up?
I'm Ryan. I'm the treasurer of the club. I'm a sophomore business admin major with a concentration in marketing and management. So
Okay.
I'm trying to go into sports marketing and or
Mhm.
not totally sure yet. But I think you covered all my questions, to be honest.
That's okay. I talk a lot. I apologize to everybody.
That's good. That's good. I would like to thank you for coming on.
It's my pleasure and I appreciate it. And like I just posted on Facebook here in my town, I'm offering my services to anybody in high school or at any level that wants to reach out and pick my brain, because I didn't have this person. I didn't have me when I was breaking into the business. No one in my family did this. I'm the first one. So everything I've done for myself, I've done everything myself. But I don't want people like you all to think that you're on an island. You're not. And tonight isn't it. If you ever need me, all you have to do is reach out. Any question, anything at all, I'm here.
Luca.
Come on, Chris.
What's up, Luca?
So again, I'm the president of the club. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. You just blessed us with so much knowledge and insight.
Oh, stop.
So just a little background about me. So I'm a senior marketing major with a minor in sports communication. I have interest in getting into sports production or sports marketing. So right now I'm the station manager of our TV station here on campus. We just did with Dan with the X with the radio station. We did a simulcast of a homecoming live show this past Saturday.
Nice.
Which was a pretty cool experience. Dan and I worked hard on that. That was like a whole month's worth of work just planning that, and it ran smoothly. We're really happy with it. And then I also helped produce with Adam in this call a sports talk show called The Extra Point. So my question to you is, I'm a senior, it's still the fall. I still have one more semester after this, but I'm starting to like look at jobs and apply. So what advice would you give someone in my shoes that's applying for like jobs in sports production?
Depending on what direction you want to go, if you want to be behind the scenes or on camera. So first and foremost, what do you want to do?
I would say I'm pretty open book right now. I like being like a
Okay.
host on camera, but I also like the behind the scenes of like producing. And then I also do like the live sports production here with Dan. I do like the replay operation as well. So kind of like a jack of all trades type thing.
Well, you're talking to the jackass of all trades at Yes. So you're asking the right person. And it came from my background at MSNBC, where I was able to learn everything, like I said earlier in the conversation. But my advice to you would be to just keep doing as much as you can this year. Get as much as you can onto a reel. I used to do stand-up comedy too, and you can't take dirty material into a room that's full of people who expect clean stuff, and you can't take clean stuff into a room of people who want you to be dirty. And I say that because you need to know your audience. You need to know what you're applying for. And it sounds like you can do both. You could do on air, you could do behind the scenes. So I would have stuff that you did behind the camera, and I would have stuff that you had in front of the camera. It wouldn't hurt you if your passion started to go the way of being on camera to start your own website. I did it, and I'm well into my career, because you never know. I mean, I never know. I don't know what's going to happen at Yes. I have no idea. We've been bought and sold so many times, and new people come in and they bring in their people. So you always have to be prepared. So I went to GoDaddy. I made a website. All of my stuff is on there. It's real easy, chrisshearn.com. You can go check it out if you want to get an example of what I do. All of my voiceover work is there. All of my play-by-play, my in-studio stuff, my sideline stuff. So do that, and also bulk your resume up and make a reel. This is why I'm telling you to do the website, because you could do your reel of the stuff that you produced that you were behind the scenes as well. If you could do that and make yourself well-rounded, there are places where you could do that and be a jack of all trades. You can do everything that you want to do, and that could really fuel your passion. And then once you do that for a couple of years, then you can make the decision and the determination, I think I want to be on the air. I'd rather be behind the scenes. Then you have such a strong thing. It's the same thing as being on camera and then transferring to behind the scenes, because you know what's expected out of you, out of your talent, just like the talent knows what's expected out of everybody behind the scenes. So I would say do as much as you can, continue to do stuff on the television station. You're the president, for crying out loud. So act presidential. That's what I could tell you. You're my counterpart because I did the same thing at Rowan. So look, just again, I know I'm a broken record. Do as much as you can and get as much as you can on a reel and be prepared that way. And if you have an intern somewhere first. If you, and they're all, most of them are paid internships now, so you can get the experience and get a check as well. So look into that. And if you need help, reach out to me. I'll try to do what I can. I know our HR person is going to send me the information soon. So just remember to reach out to me and I'll hook you up with that info if you want for the summer. I believe we do summer internships. So yeah, I'll get that out to you guys and you could send your resumes to our HR department.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Did anyone else have any last questions? All right, cool. Chris, again, thank you so much for your time. Just
No
before
problem.
you leave,
Yeah.
shout out to Zoom. You just type in your email. That way we could, reconnect with
Oh,
you.
sure. Give me a second.
No problem.
There we go. I'll give you both. This is my yes. And this is my personal. And don't make fun of me. It's AOL. I know I'm old. There you go. Those are both. And like I said, anytime, it might take me a little bit to get back to you. You could ask Dan, but I do get back to you. So I want to help and I want to be there for you because someday you might be my boss.
Never know. But Chris, thank you so much for your time and enjoy
Thank
the
you
rest of your
again,
week.
Chris.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the time and I appreciate coming on.
Have a good night.
You
Have a
too.
good
Take
night.
care, everyone.
Thank you.